Welcome, everyone. I'm Amy Seeley, president of Seeley Test Pros and Leap, helping students to succeed in all kinds of tests from 8th grade to grad school throughout Ohio.
And I'm Mike Bergen, president of Chariot Learning, helping students with tests, school, and life based out of Rochester, New York.
Between the two of us today, we have over 60 years of experience at the highest levels of the test preparation and supplemental education industries.
We both love to talk and learn about the latest issues in education, testing, and admissions. So let's get down to tests and the rest. The fascinating topic we want to explore today is ourselves. Welcome to another episode of EXTEMP with Amy and Mike.
Oh, Mike, it's so good to see you and talk to you today.
Oh, yeah. We have lots to talk about, don't we?
We do. We always have things to talk about, right? Because we're always busy little beavers in our own little necks of the woods, right?
Let's jump right into hear all about your travels this past month. You just had a big family trip, didn't you?
I did. We just got back from Orlando. Yeah, I took my two youngest girls to Orlando, which, I mean, actually, it was a calm trip because if you've been to Disney a few times, you actually get to a point where you're kind of like, it's more relaxing or as relaxing as one can be. But we did go to Universal, and I will tell you that was fun. Actually, we were pretty much all in agreement that our favorite ride there is it's like the Jimmy Fallon Race Through New York.
How funny.
Oh,
Jimmy
it's a
Fallon
really
has a
fun ride. And of
Universal?
course, you as a New Yorker, Mike, it was just a fun, if you like Jimmy Fallon, if you like, New York City, it was a really cool ride. So we really enjoyed that. And I'd never been to Universal before. So that was kind of its own experience.
Do they in the car, like in the car that you're running through, are you playing little instruments? Like, you know how Jimmy Fallon always has bands come and they play their songs with like toy instruments?
Right. No, so not like that. But what's interesting though about a lot of the rides at Universal, at least that we went on, if you've been on the Remy ride, like in France of Epcot, it's a lot of like virtual where it's basically a screen.
Okay,
and you're
right.
doing it, and they're just kind of like moving around like where you are, where you feel like you're up and you're down. So it's kind of ironic. Like a lot of it's like almost like virtual stuff where you're in a little car, but you're not really moving, but yet you're made to feel like you're, moving or whatever.
I actually like those rides because I don't worry as much about mechanical failure.
Well, that is true.
You can't get stuck at the top.
But Mike, I'm gonna full reveal here, honey. We're aging, and I don't know about you, but the one thing about rides now, jerkiness is a little bit something I don't appreciate as much anymore.
You have to watch your osteoporosis, Amy.
So what it is if you put me in one where you're kind of jerking me around like that, like you're like literally jerking me around, it's a little bit jarring for my brain. But I will say probably the best ride of the whole trip was one that I'd never done at Epcot, and that is the Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
Awesome.
So we have not done it before because the line is always ridiculously long. And so we were like, okay, we're going to do it. It was going to be like our last ride of the day. And oh my God, that ride is amazing. It's kind of like Space Mountain because you're inside in the dark, but lots of lighting up lights and things like that. But music wise, so I'm not a big Guardians of the Galaxy like movie aficionado. However, they play really cool music, like kind of
that's a hallmark of Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, it is
great soundtrack.
So exactly. So I found myself after the ride, like downloading and putting on my Spotify all these songs, and I was like, oh, I love that song. But the cool thing is, it was a really smooth roller coaster. It was a legit roller coaster ride inside, dark but lights and lighting up, cool music, and I literally, you know what I did? I embraced the moment, and so I just did you put your hands in the air. And you just ride the ride. And it was so smooth that it just felt like I was just cruising through the universe. And when we all got off, we were all like, oh my God, that was the best ride we've ever ridden.
Fantastic.
So I was super excited to then be like, it was everything a ride should be. So that was really, really fun. Yeah.
It sounds like you enjoyed Universal more than Disney.
Well, it was new to me because I've never done the Universal. So I think that's part of it. There was a novelty to that there was not with Disney. Yeah.
What about the girls? What did they prefer?
The girls had a great time. That we all were in agreement. Our favorite rides were like the Jimmy Fallon, the Guardians of the Galaxy. And it was just fun to spend time with them, Yeah. So 20-year-old and 10-year-old. But the girls, my 20-year-old getting to see her like act like a little girl, she does when she
Yeah.
goes to Disney. So
Right.
that's always fun when our older kids start to act like little kids again. And so
That's
was very
fantastic.
special to share, always to share time with your kids.
You
How about
do a
you?
great job of carving out time for your kids and have like special trips with each of them.
Experiences is what it's all about, right, Mike?
Experiences are what it's all about.
So tell me, what have
Yeah,
you
I
been
had
up
a good
to?
time with my kids this past weekend. Unfortunately, we had to come together for a service
Hmm,
for my father-in-law's longtime partner.
sorry.
But, it was just Ivy came in from school and Mason took time off of work and we just had a great time.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's very
I
nice,
definitely
especially.
appreciate those opportunities because I get to see them making time for each other. They've actually started a tradition with my nephew Leo, who lives in Brighton, where the three of them go
Mm.
out for dinner. And like they
Aw.
pick a good restaurant, a really good restaurant. And right now Mason pays because, he's the only one who's actually working. But they enjoy that. They like get into that. And that's, like it's fun to see the next generation build their connections
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
and
And I
make their
think,
memories.
and I like to think that means we did a good job. The fact
Yeah.
that they value family relationships and spending family time and then seeking that out like sibling wise. I love it. Although I will say it's sometimes sad when they want to go out and do things and you're not
Oh, I
included.
love that though. No, I think that's
But I know,
great
but you're happy
because
for the fact that they
yeah,
do it. So
yeah,
it's a weird feeling I think as an adult parent, whatever, that you want them to have those kind of opportunities and relationships, but you also realize like about having to step back and let them have them. So I think that's an interesting where you find yourself when that happens. Yeah.
totally. I think that I've been able to learn to let my envy go because I want them to have great experiences. And I've, like the first time they went on a vacation to another country that I hadn't been to, like that was really hard for me. Like, how could you
Oh,
do this? I haven't even been there. But then you're like, then you celebrate it. You're like, that's fantastic. You get to do this, and I can hear about it, and I can see pictures, and I'm glad that you are growing distinct from me.
yeah. I think it's interesting for us to talk about this, right, as our with our adult children, because one of the questions that actually came up in our mailbag this past month was kind of about like being in education and sort of owning our own businesses and the work that we do. How have we or how can educators kind of balance that work and family? I think specifically when I say educators, not trying to kind of push teachers away, but I think in our particular cases of
You're
education,
talking
right?
about people on the private
The
side.
private side of education,
Yes.
exactly. Because obviously, we don't have the same kind of time for our families, right? We know that the tutoring industry business primarily takes place between like 3 p.m. and 9 p.m., let's say maybe Monday through Friday, or Saturdays and Sundays all day.
Hmm.
And you and to be fair, we have started and raised families and grown children where we had to do that like our entire
Sure.
career, right?
Well, it's interesting that when you describe it that way, tutoring is the anti-teacher plan.
It
A lot
is.
of people go into teaching because their hours will mirror the hours that their kids are in
So
school,
there's like yin and
and
yang.
they
Daytime
even have the same
teachers,
vacations. Yes.
right,
Whereas we, right, as other people are getting off, we're getting on. We're
right.
we're getting into work. So interestingly, I'll tell you that when I transitioned from working in a corporate office for an education company to starting my own test prep business, that was a benefit. It was an advantage, not a disadvantage,
Right.
because my kids were young,
Mm-hmm.
very young, and my wife was working. She got a job where she was working during the day, and the way I planned it was that as I was starting the business and I could still be very present, take care of my kids. Like, I had somebody come in and
Mm-hmm.
help out,
Yeah.
and they were going to pre-K and stuff and kindergarten and stuff like that. But basically, I had a ton of time with them that would shrink as the responsibilities of the growing business would align with their spending more time in school.
Yeah.
So, if I when I started Chariot Learning, my kids were 4 and 2. They were just like 5 and 3, like they were
Hmm.
very young. But then if we planned it so that I could do a lot of administrative work during the day, writing the new curriculum,
Hmm.
doing the marketing, things like that. And then when my wife came home, I could plan to do tutoring. That worked out great. And so the business really did grow as my kids grew,
Hmm.
so that by the time I needed full-time access during the day, they were in school.
So I was kind of like the opposite. It was sort of I had a 3-year-old when I started tutoring. It worked really well when the kids were little, right? So for a while I had three, sort of younger ones. And so obviously there was that tag team parenting. That was the idea of being at home during the day, like you said, even. And at that time I was working for another company, but I had the ability to be at home doing some administrative management for them at home. And then like when my dad came home, it was like, I'm leaving to do tutoring. And that worked because I was at home. I think as my family grew and like shifted into very different, very
Well,
different
because you
age
never you
groups.
never had that this phase is over. We're
No, I
going to the next
didn't.
one because you always introduced a new
There
phase.
was a new family member that threw off that whole, if there had been a plan,
Yes.
it never got executed. Um, but I think that when they were younger, because I even think about that, did they think of me as a stay-at-home mom, right? Because I was like during the day, like you could come home, I was home. I think the biggest challenge, like you're saying, is when, I had Annie, who's now 10, because all my other kids were significantly older. And, then I was balancing when Annie, it was one of my son Jack had to become the babysitter. So I had to tutor at home. Like I went from leaving to tutor. And when she was born, I started tutoring in the home. I was like, you know what? This is just easier. I'll tutor in the dining room. You keep her in the back family room and keep her
Yeah.
entertained. And so I did that for, boy, like I think about 4 years almost. It was right before COVID, actually. then
Right.
I then I got an office, right?
Yeah.
But actually getting the office, what I loved about getting the office, it was a renovated house that was like the Chamber of Commerce and our offices were in there.
I loved your first office.
No, the first office was great because Annie felt like it was her home. So
Yeah.
I set up the third floor of this, what was the attic of this building, with all kinds of stuff, like a rug and a chair and books and toys, a dollhouse, so that she could kind of run around up there if I needed her to be there. And that did work well until obviously COVID. And then interestingly, though, then you think about COVID and now the fact that tutoring's online.
Yes.
So for me now, I'm back to being like, yeah, I do tutor after school weekends, but I don't know about you, but being online tutoring feels so different to me because it's like I'm still home, I'm still around. I can still get her a snack. I can still come
So,
like
so
in and
that
out.
was a really big, right? That was a really big feature of being present in my kids' lives in the last, say, five
Yeah,
years, or because I was, spending more time at home and now really transitioned to mostly online activity. And that meant that whenever they showed up from school, whenever they came home from school, I could be there. I could say, hey, I could like just see them. It
right.
meant, and it still means that I can carve out a dinner time. And
100%.
so whoever's home for dinner, like we can have dinner
Well,
together
exactly. The
and you could
transportation,
schedule like, but if I was at my office, I couldn't run home,
you just wouldn't do it.
dinner, run back. No, I would do something goofy. So this is way better. Like I feel that my kids know that I've always worked really hard, but also I've always been present because I could be.
Yeah.
And I couldn't put a price on the
Yeah.
value of that.
Yeah, I do. I feel like it's my ability to check in and be present is there's more opportunities for that. They might be short opportunities, but that definitely exists. So, yeah, but I think for many tutors, if you are thinking about having kids and raising a family, those early years are like the easiest because usually you're tag team parenting with it. And the
Yeah.
later years, the goal is that you hopefully have built up a business where you don't have to tutor as many hours as you did in the beginning. That's the
But a
goal.
lot of
That should be
people
the
just
goal.
want to tutor, in which case I would say just, you know, if you can be in a position where you can build in time between your sessions rather than go back to back to back,
Hmm.
build in a little interstitial time that you can check in with your kids,
Right.
whatever
Yeah.
age they are. Build out time for a family meal because that's meaningful.
Yeah, it
And,
is.
if and again, tag team parenting is the key. But if you can get yourself to a place, even if you have young children and you can stop tutoring in time to put them to bed, they'll feel like you were there for them.
Yeah.
If you miss all of it, then you're going to regret it.
And like, as you know, so two of my oldest kids are in the tutoring industry. So it's
Yeah.
really interesting for me to watch Haley, who has a 2-year-old, to sort of, in a way I get to see, I witness, I know like firsthand what the struggle is of balancing that. And actually, I'm actually lucky enough in my career that on not all Wednesday nights, but many Wednesday nights, I show up and I babysit Andy and
Yes.
I put him to bed while Haley's tutoring. So actually, that's where I was last night. I got to like go hang out. Actually, her tutoring schedule changed, so she had some free time. But it's interesting for me now to watch that with my kids and try to advise them about how to try to create that like that
Absolutely.
balance, right? Because you can really get sucked into tutoring more than you should. So creating healthy boundaries from the beginning is a good piece of advice.
I couldn't agree
Um,
more. Hey, I want to shift our conversation and talk to you about a report that I read recently. I wrote about this on College Eagle, but I
okay.
was really kind of surprised. And as I thought about it, I had a bit of a hot take, and I'm wondering what your position is going to be. Okay.
Here we
So,
go. Hot
so
takes.
first of all, just listen to the setup. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce and College Board collaborated on a joint study. Already sounds
Okay.
weird, right? And
Yeah.
the study, this new report is the new Hire Readiness Report 2025, Insights from Hiring Managers on Entry-Level Workforce Preparedness. Okay?
hmm
That's a mouthful.
Okay.
What is the report about? Well, they surveyed 500 hiring managers nationwide and just asked them about how work ready high school students are.
Oh
Okay.
boy. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's some of the bullets, right? 4 in 5 hiring managers agree that most high school students are not prepared to enter the workforce. A
hmm
strong majority, 80%, agree that current high school graduates are less prepared to enter the workforce compared to previous generations. They say that trade schools and four-year colleges are ways to acquire early career skills, and the vast majority, 92%, said there should be more business courses in high school. So before I give you like where I'm going with
mm
this, what are your thoughts about the report and the fact that College Board's involved?
Well, my first thought is workforce readiness. And
Uh-huh. Good. Keep going with
College
that.
Board is obviously they're going to try to get into the workforce readiness game,
Uh-huh.
potentially understanding that not every student needs a college degree, but yet every high school student doesn't need to necessarily go to college, but at the same time, they need to be prepared to enter the workforce. Now, what's interesting to me is that obviously you and I know from an academic skill perspective, a lot of kids are certainly not ready academically. Um, but I also think anymore too, you know, even executive function wise, are they ready? Emotionally, are they ready? I mean, that there are a lot of things that go into being ready to enter the workforce. And I do think, especially what we observe with many of our students, there are elements of that where, yeah, I mean, are they ready? But College Board getting into it makes me think they're going to be pursuing something that ACT is already doing, which is really trying to go in on career readiness
So they
post high school.
are. They announced the AP Career Kickstart,
hmm
which is their program. Some new AP courses.
hmm
So there's going to be an AP Business with Personal Finance
hmm
and AP Cybersecurity.
Mm. Interesting.
However,
Hmm?
students that take APs are not going into the workforce right out of high
If you're
school.
taking an AP, you are a trajectory very different from like entry post second. Like you're not entering right away. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is kind of BS because what you're talking about with ACT, with the work keys assessment,
hmm
right? ACT work keys is definitely an assessment for students who are entering the workforce right out of high school. And in that sense, it makes me think of the vocational technical programs like the one that my son was involved in, where
hmm
you are doing a culinary program while you're in high school. You are doing an automotive or a cosmetology program while you're in high school. You're not also taking AP exams.
Well,
You're not
you're
taking
not.
AP classes and doing
No,
VOTEC at
you
the
don't
same
need
time.
college credit. The point of AP really is to earn college credit that would then potentially reduce the amount of college credits you need once you arrive on campus. So to
That's one of the
me,
purposes,
it
right? I mean,
feels like
ostensibly it's about academic enrichment, but
it is, but I'm saying
practically what you're
that's
saying is
how
true.
primarily AP was always sold. Is like you're going to earn, you have the potential to earn college credit. So to me, that seems like, and rigor. I mean, like, who chases rigor on the high school transcript? Someone who wants to go to a more or most selective institution.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we think of with AP. So to me, the benefit of that, right? Like, for example, why, Mike, would I pay for my student to take the test when they're not going to go to college to use the credit? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand like,
Yeah.
that makes no sense to me.
But I'm just saying that it's the rare student that would take the AP business with personal finance.
Which a
Why
lot
would
of,
you take that if you weren't going on to college?
right. I mean, to be fair, a lot of like a lot of schools now, even states, I think, might require like a financial literacy or a personal finance class. I'm hearing students talking about that, which I do think, to be fair, every student understanding that before they leave high school is important. But making that an AP class. Now, of course, we could argue one of the nice things that we see the trend of with AP is a standardization of curriculum. So in that sense, a class like that might say here it sets a standard for what should
Yes.
be taught or expectations of what should be learned, which I understand. But once again, if the point is to get the AP credit, do I need that? Do I
I
want that?
think, yeah, I think that I think College Board is angling to be kind of the work readiness for future white collar students.
That's
Whereas
interesting. Yeah.
the
Well, I mean,
work,
I get that.
only because like you have to go to college. Like these offerings, these AP offerings suggest that you're going on to college, in which case you're getting ready for those jobs. I agree that the standardization and professionalization of a personal finance curriculum would benefit everyone, and
Sure.
maybe they could make a non-AP level class so that everyone could take
So
advantage
there'd
of
be
it.
pre-AP financial literacy.
Pre-APs.
You want to go
But I
really
think that the
crazy.
work keys assessment,
Yeah,
when, because ACT is hooking into industry
sure.
and trying to get really large employers and small employers to recognize that the work keys credentials strongly quantify work readiness in the way that is practical. So I
Yeah.
just don't know that College Board is working in the same lane as ACT.
However, I will say, compared to ACT, I do think College Board has generally been fairly visionary, right? That
Sure.
really thinking far in the future and then working backwards to strategically create a plan for that. So in that sense, I'm like, oh, it's it gives us some sense of the direction I think that they're going to go in, which will be very interesting to follow, right?
Very interesting. So that's where it is. I was curious about your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting kind of trajectory, if you will. We'll stay tuned, Mike.
We will say, and maybe we'll have a podcast about it.
So yeah, right, exactly. We'll see where it goes. So actually, I know we talked last month about TestBright tutor training, and that's imminent, right? Like that's going to be happening
It's
very
imminent.
soon.
So by the time we air this
It will
episode,
your first.
my first group of verbal tutor trainees will have run through, and I'm very excited about this. Like now, you talk about coming up with the idea and kind of having an architecture in mind for how to fill the time,
Mhm.
but nothing beats actually working with people in real time. And I train lots of tutors, lots of teachers. I've been doing a lot of AIM trainings,
Sure, right,
so I'm
exactly.
working with high school teachers around the country, but this is different. Working with test prep professionals, some of whom have experience, some of whom don't, is something I'm really looking forward to.
Well, I think it's kind of exciting too, because in our circle, the kind of sphere of the world in test prep professional land, if you will, it's new because it's obviously something that could be accessible to people regardless of what company or what, or even like lots of contractors, lots of solopreneurs who are looking to
That's right.
really add to whatever they know, right? We're always like, I think anything, I want to know what you're doing and teaching because anything you could add to what I do or my tutors do, there's high value in that. And obviously with the transitions of
Yeah.
the tests over the last couple of years, we're all trying to make sure are we on the right course? So what are you doing and what can you share that's going to edify myself or my tutoring team. So I'm really, really
Yeah, I
excited.
agree completely. And what's great is that this first class of trainees is a mix of solopreneurs,
Hmm.
educators who work for other practices,
Hmm.
who, those
Yeah,
practices are paying for them.
sure.
And then I even have one new trainee, somebody
Wow.
who aspires to teach for my company. And
Which
so,
is good,
like,
right? You're
it's
like,
a,
you're gonna
yeah,
hopefully you're gonna get paid to train your own people. Actually, can we call these people? I'm thinking of this in terms of like the TestBright cadets or something like that.
test right cadets. That'd be good.
I mean, I think I thought you were supposed
Test
to call
right
it
space
TestBright
cadet.
Academy.
That,
TestBright
yeah,
Academy's first class of cadets, right?
we're gonna have to come up with a name. Hopefully, it's gonna be flattering. But so it's exciting, especially knowing that this is the first group, and the plan is just each time to see what works
Sure.
and really streamline the process, figure it out. Eventually, I'll build an async, like a
Hmm.
class like
Yeah.
that online. But for me, it's always about the in person.
Yeah.
It's about the
Sure.
in person, the live online,
Live online,
you know.
right? Yeah.
But having that interaction, answering questions right at the point of contact,
Yeah.
that's something that we as educators have to celebrate.
Right.
Of course, you could seek out something where you can pay for an online course that you can watch on demand,
Hmm.
but I don't ever think that on demand is as good as
No, I mean, live
live.
interaction obviously like
Yeah,
I mean, all of us who are in education, there's nothing better than like live interaction, the spontaneity of the questions and the organic nature of what you sometimes talk about that you might not have even expected to come up in the conversation. Sharing
exactly.
either situations or scenarios where you're working with students and real world situations, which is great, which is really great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm really looking forward to it. And I obviously next time we meet for XTemp, I'll be sharing how everything went.
can't wait. I can't wait to hear more. Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of can't wait, we're going to be seeing each other very soon.
My God, Mike, these next few weeks. So what do we have coming up, Mike? Do you want to share what's coming up for at least for us together? We have something shared coming up. What's coming up?
Yeah, the College Board Forum in New York City.
I can't. It's one of my favorite. I've been doing this almost every year since 2014. So every fall.
Right.
But what I'm really excited about is how many people from
Yes.
our, sort of sphere, NTPA, test prep professional friends are going to be in New York City for College Board Forum that first week of November. Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say I haven't figured out where I'm staying yet.
I was going to ask you that. I was like,
I
have you
have no
thought?
idea. I don't know if I'm going to stay with family or I'm going to
Well,
get a
you
room.
see,
Like I got to get,
you have the ability to be a little bit more cavalier. Those of us who know like we're coming to town and we've got to like book the hotel and know where we're going to be had to like lock in much
yeah,
earlier
but it
than
would
you
be
did.
irresponsible of me to plan to commute to the outer boroughs,
Yeah. Yeah.
knowing the kind of late nights we probably expect.
Yeah. I mean, the lesson I've learned is just, well, first of all, it starts, I fly in on Wednesday morning early. So it's like that first day can always be like long. But there's nothing better than like, just as we were talking about College Board in this study, like, oh, I wonder if we'll hear more about what they're doing with that. So there's a real great opportunity to just learn more about what's happening in the college space. It's not all about testing, right? Well, there'll be stuff about SATs, but for the most part, it's also going to be like colleagues, right? Interacting with colleagues, lots of high school counselors, lots of admissions professionals,
Yeah.
and just again, more great conversations just within our professional sphere, which I'm always excited to have. Yeah, yeah,
Always exciting, 100%.
yeah.
What else do you have going on? That's not the only trip that you have
No, I
planned
will
in the
be
next month.
I will be in DC. As you know, I was part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program in Cleveland back in January through April of 2020. But they do every couple years. Goldman Sachs runs a massive conference for its alums. And so, but part of the goal, they do it in DC, is for lobbying. So, as a part of that, is lobbying in front of our congressmen, whether that be representatives or senators, about issues primarily with small business. But I'm really looking forward to kind of thinking about what kind of information can I share within the education space, like what's important for us in education. So to lobby for that, and then of course just to I'll some of our IEC friends have
Yeah,
participated in that program. So it's
that's
always
right.
fun to see who you run into or who that may have done that program as well. So that's going to be right before Halloween. So actually, the week before I go to New York, I'll be in DC. Someone to feel like a very big business lady for a couple weeks there
Yeah,
during
listen,
travels.
I appreciate you exerting your considerable influence to support education.
Yes. No, and that's what I'm looking forward to this time is understanding the process better to know, hey, go with the plan, right? Go with the plan and how to share information or to make our representatives more accountable to us. Yeah.
I'll point out another thing that's happening that I'm excited about, and that's that school presentation season has finally begun. And
Oh,
so
Mike,
I've been
yes.
giving presentations
Yes.
online. Tonight I'm giving one in person at a school, and I always love that time
No,
of
it
year.
is, well, especially now because I feel like we're sharing changes, but now we can share a lot more because we at least it's more of a known quantity. Oh yeah, I've got one next Tuesday night and I had like a
Yeah,
bunch. Yeah, so it's a fun time of year to be again meeting the next group of parents and students who will be entering our
absolutely.
spheres, shortly, right?
Yeah, what I love about these presentations so often, right? You're getting the parents who show up late, but also you're getting the ones that show up early, the parents of 10th graders, and like, what
A
can we
hundred
be
percent.
doing? And such a rich and practical conversation with somebody who really does have the full range of high school to plan for their teens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really great to make those connections, especially because you can give them lots of great advice the earlier they start to engage in the process.
100%. Well, listen, Amy, I know that we could talk about ourselves all day. Unfortunately, we are out of time.
It is always a pleasure, Mike.
The pleasure, as always, is mine.
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as we did. Be sure to join us for another fascinating topic and guest on the next Tests and the Rest.
Did you enjoy this episode as much as we did? Find expanded links and more for this and all of our episodes at our show page at testsandtherest.com. While you're there, be sure to explore everything the larger TestBright site has to offer, including real, expert, unbiased answers to the toughest admissions testing questions. Of course, we'd love for you to rate, review, and subscribe to Test and the Rest on your favorite podcast platform. If there's a topic or guest you'd like us to feature, just let us know and spread the word.